Hello, today I'm going to be talking about the concept of late adulthood in chapter 12. This stage begins around the age of 60, and it is the most diverse stage of life because while others experience a drastic decline, some just remain healthy and active and don't experience that decline until much later. Life expectancy now is near 80 in more developed nations because of the advances in medicine and healthier lifestyles. People are living longer, and they some people do experience physical and cognitive decline, but others thrive well into their 80s and beyond. It is person by person. This diversity highlights that aging is not just about decline, it's about how you go about it sometimes. Cultural views on aging, they are very different. Throughout history, Western societies often viewed aging as a decline and a negative thing, associating old age with loss and loss of dependency. But cultural views do differ greatly. In Japan, elders are honored on respect for the age they. In many African cultures, elders are called big men or big women, which is meaning they're respected for their wisdom. And in the West, this view is shifting as adults today um, are seen as like wise and powerful contributors to society. Primary versus secondary aging is inevitable. Um, Gero- I'm sorry, gerontologists distinguish between two types of aging, and that would be primary versus secondary. Primary aging happens naturally. Our cells and tissues change over time. Secondary aging is shaped by how our behavior is. So, poor diet, smoking, lack of exercise, those will all accelerate aging, and that is something that you can control. So, while healthy living slows that down, um, it means aging isn't just fate, it's also a reflection of our choices. And so, it's really important to keep that in mind whenever you're thinking about your healthy lifestyles. Changes in the brain in late adulthood. So, brain mass declines 5 to 10% by the age of 80, which is really crazy how life is just comes full circle like that. So, your brain just gradually shrinks, and then by age 80, it's about 5 to 10% smaller. So, areas like the hippocampus, responsible for memory, and frontal lobes linked to planning and judgment, are especially affected. Yet, everybody isn't affected the same way. Um, you know, decline isn't uniform. Um, this goes back to what we previously went over, like physical exercise, mental challenges, and lifelong learning do help preserve neural connections. And so you kind of just have to be you just have to be intentional about this. And aging does change the brain, but active living does help keep it sharp. So there are things that you can do to help prevent these things. Late adulthood does bring new family dynamics since parents are used to taking care of their children and being the main caregivers. This usually does have a switch, and children start taking care of their parents. Like you'll see um, older children with their older parents, like they're always the children are always the one driving around. Like it's just like a full circle moment once again. And so and it shows that people age most successfully when they maintain these good relationships and meaningful relationships, and being close to their grandkids really brings older people joy. And so this can actually benefit their like lives. They're like how long they live. So staying socially engaged and emotionally connected is really important. Now to chapter 13, talking about death in cultural context. So this is really important because where and how people die differs across cultures. In developing countries, death often happens at home, surrounded by um, family or caregivers at the home. But in developed nations, it tends to happen in a hospital, um, usually under life-saving measures, unless things are otherwise. The growing hospice movement seeks a middle path, so it just helps people ease into their afterlife and helps them pass with dignity and has emotional support for both the patient and the family. The hospice approach. Hospice care begins when curing the illness is no longer possible. Its main goal is to comfort. Um, Hospice focuses on relieving pain and addressing the emotional and spiritual needs of the patient. I mean, you just have to be there for them and their loved ones, and many choose to receive this care at home, and they can enjoy their final days in the comfort of their own home with their family and in peace and dignity other than a cold hospital. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross identified 5 stages that people may experience when facing death. She explains its denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. While not everyone goes through all of these stages and not everyone goes through them all in the same order, the model does help humanize death. It reminds caregivers that dying is a deeply emotional process, and this is because if you're a caregiver, like, and you're constantly seeing this, being reminded of this is important because it's it's just like a very emotional process, and understanding it can bring a lot of compassion and dignity to the end of someone's life, and I think that's really important. Death anxiety and life review. So, death anxiety is highest in young adulthood, and some might think like it would be why because um wouldn't you think you're gonna die in late adulthood? But like no, there's accidents all the time. You never know what happens, and a lot of the time when you're young, you want to like live your life, and you just are scared you might die and not get to experience your life. And so, as people age, they often reach um, Erickson's stage of ego integrity versus despair, reflecting on their lives with acceptance. So it gets better as you get older and you start, accepting things more. So strong spiritual beliefs and a sense of purpose tend to lower death anxiety as well, and it helps people view death as a more natural part of life and accepting it more. Afterlife beliefs and rituals. Most cultures have rituals to honor the past. It is respectful too. It is like if you had a loved one who passed away, like you're gonna want to give them the utmost respect and remembrance, and you're not gonna forget them. So every culture has different rituals. The examples are listed on this. I really don't know how to pronounce some of the words, so I'm not I'm not gonna try and be disrespectful and mispronounce them. But these traditions express remembrance, respect, and connection, and they remind us that death does not end connection. It just transforms it, and it keeps the memories of the loved ones alive. Thank you.